We go through our lives consuming the flesh of other living animals despite our capacity to refrain from doing so. It has been estimated that we kill 55 billion animals each year for food. We are willingly neglecting the welfare of 55 billion lives every year when we have other food options for our survival. In the 21st century, we have a moral duty and responsibility not to continue the horrendous suffering endured by animals simply for profit and appetite. Ending the unimaginable suffering of animals for which we bear a responsibility will increase our own eudaimonia, since being compassionate to others also benefits us. As we expand our moral circle of compassion and consideration, the individual self can gain a greater sense of well-being. We should limit the suffering of other creatures through a variety of means, such as providing free-range facilities so that animals can enjoy a more natural habitat, developing and promoting lab-grown meat, avoiding products that have been lab-tested on animals, educating people on how and why animals feel pain because of their complex nervous systems, and initiating movements in support of veganism, vegetarianism, and the temporary abstinence from meat. While one might argue against the practicality and feasibility of such an overarching program, it is our responsibility as an intelligent, compassionate society to take immediate action in the protection of animal lives. We have more than enough tools required to pull it off and put an end to the unconscionably cruel behavior we subject animals to each and every day. First, educating people on the relationship between compassion and veganism is crucial. We must learn to teach humans of all ages to consciously enlarge their circle of compassion to include the animals we brutally slaughter. In The Imperative of Vegetarianism and Veganism for World Peace, vegetarianism/veganism and its relationship with compassion are intimately explored, including what our own mindsets and insights can do to improve our ability to be more fully compassionate.
Charles Darwin was not a vegetarian, but he did express concern about the ethics of eating meat in his book The Descent of Man. In the book he wrote, "The question is not can they reason, nor can they talk, but can they suffer?" This suggests that he believed that animals are capable of suffering, and that this should be considered when deciding whether or not to eat meat. However, he did not take this belief to its logical conclusion and become a vegetarian himself.
The article defines compassion along the following lines. True compassion requires mindful consumption, or as more frequently termed, conscious consumption. Compassion is the deep awareness of sympathy for and desire to alleviate the suffering or misfortune of others, or more generally, kindness, caring, and willingness to help others. On the most basic level, mindfulness is the state of being aware or conscious of something. Conscious consumption entails being conscious of the impact of our consumption choices. This definition gives us insight into how compassion translates in a real and practical sense. It also involves awareness, sympathy, empathy, and genuine kindness.
Place your smartphone camera over the QR code, and the first film in this book series will play on YouTube. It is called Why I Don't Eat Faces.
Understanding the definition of compassion can also help one understand how to develop it and how to utilize it. This necessitates promoting and advocating an educational environment which inspires us to act ethically and responsibly. The article argues that abstaining from meat will have positive benefits for us personally with the following admonitions. Vegetarianism, and more so veganism, present themselves as not only diets, but also lifestyles and ways of thinking through which we can cultivate mindfulness and compassion. In short, veganism is a tool for compassion and serves as a gateway to becoming a more sympathetic and mindful individual. One of the key ways to make people understand this is through education.
Pythagoras, the ancient Greek philosopher and mathematician, is known for advocating for a vegetarian diet. According to some accounts, he believed that all living beings have souls and should be treated with compassion and respect, leading him to conclude that it is wrong to kill and eat animals. He believed that a vegetarian diet would not only be kinder to animals, but would also be healthier for the human body and mind.
Compassion develops at a young age, and it is imperative that people learn the importance of caring for people and animals outside of one's own species. When humans reach a point of safety and security within their lives, as described by Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they can focus their efforts on self-actualization. Self-actualization is the desire to become the most that one can be. Self-actualization becomes operative when we realize that humans are fundamentally good and deserve to be happy. For most, in order to feel that way, they must first take action to treat others of their own species with respect and compassion. Furthermore, this can spill over into other avenues of compassion as we include non-human species into our moral circle.
Place your smartphone camera over the QR code, and the second film in this book series will play on YouTube. It is called The Hierarchy of Needs and focuses on the work of Abraham Maslow.
This can prove to be a truly enriching experience that leads us to achieve our greater potential. Once we reach the stage of self-actualization, it becomes our responsibility to be compassionate towards all living beings because we understand and sympathize with those less fortunate than ourselves. We see animals in a new light. We form a kinship with them and stop viewing them as merely automatons that do not suffer, as René Descartes mistakenly believed centuries ago. A strong modern-day advocate of animal welfare is Peter Singer, who argues that our concern for others should not depend on what they are like or on what abilities they possess.
Mahatma Gandhi was a lifelong advocate of vegetarianism. He believed that a vegetarian diet was not only healthier and more sustainable, but also more ethical. He believed that it was wrong to cause unnecessary harm to animals, and that a vegetarian diet was the most compassionate way of eating. Gandhi also believed that a vegetarian diet was more in line with the principles of nonviolence, which he considered to be the cornerstone of his philosophy and way of life.
Just like out of concern for the welfare of children, we teach them to read. Concern for the well-being of pigs may require no more than that we leave them with other pigs in a place where there is adequate food and room to run freely. Singer adds, failing to include animals in our moral circle is a form of speciesism, an analogy to racism and sexism, defined as a prejudice or attitude of bias in favor of the interests of members of one's own species and against members of other species. And like racism and sexism, speciesism acts as a detriment to society and our own well-being. Thus, by becoming vegan or vegetarian, we not only protect the well-being of animals, but also our own happiness.
Place your smartphone camera over the QR code, and the third film in this book series will play on YouTube. It is called The 2-Minute Warning. It focuses on how to slow down one's anger by waiting for a period of time before reacting.
While not eating meat is primarily an altruistic effort to extend compassion to all living things, it can also have innate health benefits which should not be ignored. In fact, current medical studies have consistently shown that vegetarian and vegan diets reduce the risk of obesity, cardiovascular disease, and type 2 diabetes. In clinical studies, a low-fat vegan diet has demonstrated noteworthy health benefits, including improved body weight, glycemic control, and plasma lipid concentrations, and reduced risk of cardiovascular events. Recent studies of vegan diets with durations ranging from 14 to 74 weeks in individuals who were overweight, had type 2 diabetes, or had prostate cancer have reported high completion rates, with accompanying improvements in body weight, lipids, and glycemic control.
Jainism is a religion and philosophy founded in ancient India that emphasizes non-violence and the practice of ahimsa, which means not to injure or to do no harm. As part of this philosophy, many Jains follow a vegetarian diet in order to avoid causing harm to animals. In Jainism, non-violence is seen as a fundamental ethical principle that extends not only to animals, but to all living beings, including plants.
This means that while some may have concerns regarding how a vegan diet would impact their health, especially with how much protein they're getting, this fear is misplaced. Moreover, it shows another positive motivation for one to become plant-based. In a world where fast food reigns supreme, taking back one's health can be an enriching and empowering experience. It is best to make these changes for ourselves early on so that we may reap the rewards later in life. Additionally, these health benefits extend beyond the merely physical.
Place your smartphone camera over the QR code, and the fourth film in this book series will play on YouTube. It is called Anekantavada, the Jain version of multiple world views.
A vegan diet has been proven to improve one's mental well-being. In a study from 2015, the researchers concluded that the mood of individuals eating a plant-based diet without intake of animal-derived nutrient forms known to be essential for mental health does not appear to be adversely affected and may be better than the mood experienced by similar individuals eating an animal-based diet. Considering our previous research, we have found that increasing restriction of animal foods is associated with improved mood. There are, of course, some exceptions, and these shouldn't be ignored, yet overall this suggests that mental health is not worsened by abstaining from meat, but rather improves.
Anekantavada is a philosophical concept in Jainism that is based on the concept of relative pluralism. It is a key principle of Jainism, and it asserts that the ultimate truth of the universe cannot be grasped fully because it is complex and multidimensional. This means that no single viewpoint or perspective can capture the fullness of truth, and that multiple perspectives are necessary to understand the world and the ultimate reality.
While veganism offers the ability to simultaneously improve our health and offer compassion to the unnecessarily suffering of the animals we kill by the millions daily, it can also dramatically improve our environment. Meat production negatively impacts humanity through CO2 emissions. In a comprehensive study of how food consumption impacts geographic places' emissions, it was concluded that in the London EF study, meat and milk were respectively responsible for 28% and 12% of the total footprint, with additional significant impacts from other dairy products. Beef production requires direct land occupation for feed production and often grazing, and indirect land to offset methane production from cattle and deforestation, making it the agricultural product with the highest unit EF. This causes high beef consuming cities to have corresponding EF footprints. This study provides insight into how much waste is produced by mass meat consumption. The methane produced by cows and the energy required to run large slaughterhouses leads to large CO2 emissions. Furthermore, the land required for meat production on the scale that it is today is astronomical.
Place your smartphone camera over the QR code, and the fifth film in this book series will play on YouTube. It is called The Story of Mahavira. For example, the production of meat and other animal products requires a significant amount of energy and resources, such as water and land, which can contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. In contrast, plant-based foods require fewer resources to produce and can be grown in a more sustainable manner. Additionally, reducing the demand for meat can help to decrease the amount of land needed for animal agriculture, which can in turn reduce deforestation and the associated emissions of carbon dioxide, and mitigate the effects of global warming.
According to Hannah Ritchie's research, if everyone shifted to a plant-based diet, we would reduce global land use for agriculture by 75%. This large reduction of agricultural land use would be possible thanks to a reduction in land used for grazing and a smaller need for land to grow crops. Thus, we would gain 300 billion acres of land. This space could be used for forests, homes, solar/wind farms, preserving wildlife, and many other positive uses. Additionally, in this age of rapid technological growth and expansion, Scientists have successfully developed ways to grow meat completely humanely in a lab without even needing to take an animal's life. Utilizing the stem cells of the animal, lab-grown meat is designed to be exactly the same as real meat, but without the innate suffering and the environmental impact.
Place your smartphone camera over the QR code, and the sixth film in this book series will play on YouTube. It is called Lab-Grown Meat.
According to scientific studies, this process required 99% less land, 45% less energy, produces 96% less greenhouse emissions, and removes the need for slaughterhouses. These benefits, paired with the reclamation of millions of acres of land, cannot be underrated. Though some may be grossed out by the thought of meat being grown in a petri dish in a sterile lab, it is arguably far less gross than hundreds of animals stuffed together for years before being transported to a slaughterhouse. This is a viable way we can realistically reduce 75% of the land needed for agriculture.
There are several economic benefits of vegetarianism, including the potential for reduced healthcare costs and increased efficiency in food production. Plant-based diets have been shown to be beneficial for preventing chronic diseases such as heart disease, obesity, and type 2 diabetes, which can result in lower healthcare costs. Additionally, the production of plant-based foods requires less water and land, making it a more efficient and sustainable option for feeding the growing global population.
One main criticism and counter-argument about the validity and practicality of the mainstream adoption of veganism is the alternatives currently available instead of meat products. An argument has been made by Harvey Neo. Drawing on vegetarianism advocacy, I demonstrate the variability and spatiality of ethical food consumption practices and show why the informational gap narrative and the moral cognitive dissonance model cannot sufficiently explain what makes certain food unethical.
Place your smartphone camera over the QR code, and the seventh film in this book series will play on YouTube. It is called The Magical Leaf. This film discusses the quantum mechanical actions that take place to create photosynthesis.
Similarly, more education/information or deeper emotional connection on the part of the consumers might not cause concrete, sustained consumption changes if there exists no meaningful substitutes for the unethical food in question. Simply put, Neo is arguing that educating people on the unethical nature of the food they are eating is a near impossible feat. He is also arguing that people simply don't care enough to change their habits if they cannot make a strong connection between morality and eating meat. Furthermore, even if they can make that connection, they will not be able to change their actions unless presented with tasty, nutritious, and affordable alternatives to well-known meat products.
The Essenes were a Jewish sect that lived in the Holy Land during the time of Jesus. They were known for their strict adherence to a set of religious and spiritual beliefs, and they were particularly known for their strict dietary practices. It is likely that the Essenes were vegetarians, as they followed a strict interpretation of the Hebrew Bible that prohibited the consumption of animal products. They believed that a vegetarian diet was more in line with the teachings of their faith, and that it was a healthier and more compassionate way of eating.
Thus, it is imperative that we develop and popularize plant-based products and lab-grown meats. We currently already have brands such as Impossible or Beyond creating tasty, easily accessible meat substitutes to burgers, hot dogs, and other traditionally animal-based products. However, it does cost significantly more than regular meat, and price is a real factor that can only go down when demand for these products grows and production costs go down. Despite the increased prices in plant-based foods, it is an alternative option to meat that is available right now, and the costs are getting lower as more people choose this alternative lifestyle. Such food has a surplus of proteins and vitamins and can be part of a healthy and nutritious diet. Although in the long term, the ultimate meat replacement probably will be lab-grown meat because of its taste and texture. Research and funding have increased over the past few years for this revolutionary lab-grown process of producing meat without having to slaughter cows and chickens. Soon, it will be available for consumption by the masses. As discussed previously, vegan diets, if done right, have great nutritional value, even more so than a diet including meat, since it eliminates cholesterol and harmful hormones. Yet, having the option for someone to actually eat meat, but without the cruel animal suffering, is also a wonderful option. Even if one is unable to cut out meat in its entirety due to financial or health reasons, engaging in a reducitarian lifestyle is helpful in reducing animal suffering.
Place your smartphone camera over the QR code, and the 8th film in this book series will play on YouTube. It is called The Reducitarian Option. This film argues that even if one cannot be a total vegan, one can at the very least reduce meat consumption. Peter Singer is a philosopher and bioethicist who is known for his work on animal rights and the ethics of our treatment of non-human animals. Singer's ethical system is based on the idea of utilitarianism, which is the belief that the right action is the one that maximizes happiness and minimizes suffering for the greatest number of beings. According to Singer, we should consider the interests of all beings that are capable of experiencing pleasure and pain, including animals, when making ethical decisions.
As Brian Cateman, the founder of the reducitarian movement, advocates, where meat becomes scarcer in one's daily diet, it can still have a major impact on the world and one's overall health. The reducitarian goals are to lower the global consumption of animal products by 10%, and to meet this goal he suggests meal plans like Meatless Mondays or a daily vegan diet before 6 p.m. Any baby steps are steps in the right direction. As one reduces meat intake, rice and beans are great alternatives since they are two of the cheapest foods in the world that offer strong nutritional benefits while still tasting delicious. All in all, the counter-argument against vegetarianism and veganism can easily be refuted by the wide array of meat alternatives present today, a reducitarian approach, and our improved understanding of animal physiology and neurology. We have come a long way since the time of Descartes. Thinking of animals as machines without feelings or awareness has been replaced with an understanding that they are creatures with some form of consciousness. Yet, despite this understanding, we still have market aisles full of chopped up or processed animal parts. Legs, breasts, rumps, and ribs are considered dinner for most families. Moving away from seeing animals from an anthropocentric view to a non-anthropocentric model should be a top priority for humankind. Ending animal suffering is central to this.
Place your smartphone camera over the QR code, and the 9th film in this book series will play on YouTube. It is called The Genetic Connection. This film shows that humans, and a grain of rice, share a number of genes together and that all of life on this planet is ultimately connected and intertwined. The term anti-vivisection refers to the opposition to the use of live animals in experiments and testing, typically for the purposes of medical or scientific research. The anti-vivisection movement is a group of individuals and organizations that actively campaign against the use of animals in such experiments, often on the grounds that it is cruel and unnecessary. They may use a variety of tactics, such as lobbying for stricter laws and regulations on animal testing.
At this current stage in our development, it has become our responsibility to expand our circle of compassion toward other animals, putting an end to inhumanely produced meat products from slaughterhouses to inhumane cages can prove beneficial not only to our souls but also to our bodies and the environment. The land and food we waste for our meat-eating habits damages our ecosystems. With future technology such as lab-grown meat, it is imperative that we explore the benefits of a meatless lifestyle. If one is unable to fully partake in such a diet due to health, religious, or financial reasons, simply reducing meat consumption and advocating for an end to the suffering of animals can have a positive impact on our global well-being. Such a change in our eating habits can transform our ethical lives. We will be a happier species as a result, and eudaimonia can be achieved.
About the author. Kelly Lane has been a vegetarian since birth, 2006. Several years ago, at the age of 13, he decided to turn strictly vegan. In so doing, he immediately convinced his parents, Andrea and David, decades-long vegetarians, to also adopt a completely plant-based diet. Kelly takes an Anekantavada approach concerning human dietary choices and doesn't believe in imposing his beliefs on others, though he is not reticent to sharing his well-reasoned arguments on the subject. Kelly Lane is the author of several books, including When Computers Become Human, a kid's guide to the future of artificial intelligence, which was chosen by one of the largest publishing houses in China and translated into Mandarin. His other titles include Visual Foresight and the Delphic Oracle and A Virtual Tomorrow, Glimpses of a Rendered Reality. Kelly Lane graduated high school at the age of 15 and is currently studying philosophy, neuropsychology, and computer science as an undergraduate in college. He has his own YouTube channel entitled Kelster 101. Kelly Lane is an avid surfer and VR gamer.